And when it comes to the logic game rules and diagrams, I noticed that whenever majority of the YouTube videos that you have, you're making a lot of inferences. You're showing all the work and stuff like that. And typically, I think for 4 logic games in a section, you have about 8 and something minutes, right, to do 1 logic game. Is that something that you want students to do just in the beginning, or do you want them to do that on the test as well, just so it makes it easier?
To do what on the exam?
To do all the work, like because I know I noticed I do all the inferences and stuff like, but it typically takes a lot of time considering that the test is not paper now. It's more digital, and even the LSAT Flex, right? You would have to use paper and look back at the screen. You would. So how do you typically? What's a good strategy to use when you're doing all the work, or even when you're Xing out like A or B or C or D? Because that typically takes a long time when you're doing an LSAT Flex instead of doing a paper test, right? So you're trying to save as much money, save as much time as possible.
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things there. One is that games, it's too complicated to do in your head. Do use the scratch paper. You've got it. You've got, for Flex, you've got 5 sheets, which is about 10 pages because double-sided. So you have plenty of space to write things down. As for looking back and forth between the screen and your paper, it's something to get used to. You would have to do it on the digital LSAT on tablet as well. You'd be looking back and forth there too. But the looking back and forth doesn't automatically mean you should just throw aside scratch paper and disregard it altogether. It's virtually, hardly anybody can do games in their head, myself included. You got to write it down. You got to make your diagrams, and you've also make your main diagram as well as all your local diagrams, the hypotheticals. It's worth doing. Try to do games without writing anything down, and you may not get very far.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You have time to practice here. You've got plenty of time between now and October. As we speak now, you have about 2 months and change, 2.5 maybe. So you've got a lot of time. Secondly, you mentioned the 8:45, and I just want to call that out for a minute. The average of 8 minutes and 45 seconds per game. That is simply an average, but I wouldn't think about it so precisely. You've got 4 games, 35 minutes. They vary in difficulty. So some will take less time, hopefully. Some will take more time. It's natural. You want to focus on approaching the easier games hyper efficiently. Some games could be 6 minutes if you're really good at that game type and you're good at making that flow of inferences.
Gotcha.
Other games may take longer, and that's to be expected. As for my process of making inferences up front, maybe making multiple main diagrams, I would recommend doing that on test day. You may not do it for all 4 games, but even if you just do it for a couple, you're solving them more efficiently, and then you free up the time to solve the others, even if they take a little bit longer. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them, and feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.